KATC Weather Lab. Here's Rob's forecast.
Welcome back and welcome to the weekend. If you like today's weather, you're going to like the weekend forecast. A very typical August pattern setting in with rain chances a little bit closer to normal, which is about 30%. We'll be a little bit better than that in the 40% range over the next couple of days, but you can't argue that this is not what we would expect come August. So let's take a look at the big picture outside first off. Justin Terrell getting our weather shot here. Got some towering cumulus clouds. Not much wind out there. That's been the story. Not much ventilation, not much of a breeze inland or offshore for that matter. It's been awfully calm offshore as well, as we mentioned at 5 o'clock this evening. So let's kick it upstairs, take a look at the satellite imagery. We see storms firing up off to the east in eastern Louisiana over toward Mississippi, associated with part of an upper level low, and then more storms as we go back to the west as well, going around a subtropical ridge of high pressure. And locally, we've been kind of in between systems, and we see that on the water vapor imagery. We have high pressure here, but it's too far away to squelch shower and thunderstorm activity. Then this upper level low by the Florida Panhandle, enhancing rain chances nearby and also interacting with that tropical wave that's over by Florida and the Bahamas. So we're kind of in between. So we start out mostly sunny, but with daytime heating and a northeasterly flow aloft, we see those scattered storms in the afternoon, and that's certainly what we saw today. A little bit more in the way of coverage across portions of the area, scattered across Texas and much of Louisiana. Then gets a little bit more active eastern Louisiana into Mississippi as well. And late this afternoon, a couple of strong storms showing up. Not a whole lot in the way of strong winds, but locally heavy downpours, especially with the cell that is just to the southwest of Kaplan and just bypassing Gaydon rather, moving out into the marsh surrounding Forked Island. Another couple of isolated cells between Pecan Island and Chenier Teague. And then as we go farther to the north and east, we see action in around the Broussard area. Youngsville seeing some downpours south of Lafayette. Here's Johnston Street right here. So south side of town, here's Ambassador Caffrey. So a nice shower here. And then more activity as we go farther to the south and east as we get into portions of Iberia and the southern portion of Upper St. Martin Parish. Another cell around the St. Martinville area. And wait, there's more scattered activity between Coteau Homes, Bell Place, Generate. You're going to get a good downpour shortly, and that's going to last for about a half hour or so. And additional activity across portions of St. Mary Parish. Heaviest activity now moving into the marsh, showing a lot of clouded ground lightning here. More activity off to the north and east, but all of this activity will be gradually diminishing as we lose that daytime heating, and by this evening, by 9 o'clock tonight, should be all quiet. Meanwhile, a fading disturbance out in the Atlantic, the one we've been tracking for the better part of the week. The National Hurricane Center, not as high on this one, developing now a medium chance, about 40% chance of development over the next 5 days. Upper level winds are going to become more and more unconducive for any development. So this still could become a tropical depression as it gets closer to the northeastern Caribbean. We'll keep an eye on it, but whatever would develop, if it would, is going to stay out in the open Atlantic. You can see all the inclement weather from Cuba through the Keys up through the southeast. Elevated tides here along the east coast. And then in the central Pacific, we still have Tropical Storm Flossie that is beginning to weaken, and Tropical Storm Eric that continues to weaken. Flossie eventually will go just north of the Hawaiian Islands as a weak tropical storm. Eric is still barely a tropical storm going south of the islands. Tropical storm warnings, though, for the waters around the Big Island, but this has not been a major event. But you can see some of that moisture working its way into the Big Island, so some shower activity there. So as we look at the pattern, here's our tropical wave disturbance as it gets closer to the northeast Caribbean. Notice another tropical wave following in its suit. And then we have a lot of troughiness going on across the Gulf of Mexico and the East Coast, and this is why there's not going to be any threat to the Gulf of Mexico, because this will turn whatever would develop, if anything would, out in the open Atlantic. Meanwhile, it's kind of a dicey forecast. This has been over us, this high moisture area. Today it's a little bit farther to the east, and watch with time. Again, a busy pattern somewhere on the Gulf Coast for showers and storms, but today it looks like it's more going to be toward the Florida Florida Panhandle with that ridge of high pressure we showed you earlier exerting a little bit more muscle. So rain chances toward the end of next week, following weekend, could go down. That means temperatures going up. In the near term, still the risk of some activity on the radar up until about 8 or 9 o'clock tonight. Should be a quiet night tonight. Tomorrow we start off again mostly sunny. Showers along the coast almost equal, about a 40% chance of storms inland during the day, all things remaining equal. And it's going to be primarily in the afternoon hours like today, so we'll keep that 40% chance of storms for tomorrow. Then it quiets down going into tomorrow evening. Temperature-wise, low to mid-70s tonight, but back into the upper 80s to lower 90s tomorrow. That heat index will push near 100 tomorrow afternoon before the storms kick in. So overnight tonight, we said 73 the low, 91 the high tomorrow. Standard August forecast with a 30 to 40% chance of storms. And as we go into Sunday, Monday, not much of a change, at least through the middle part of next week. And we'll follow the European model and decrease the rain chances toward the end of next week. That means daytime highs and overnight lows getting a little bit hotter. So typical summer forecast, and the latter half of that 10-day forecast has been going back and forth. Right now we think it's going to get hotter and a little bit drier.
All righty. Thank you, Rob.